There we go.
I'm your host and moderator, Pamela Coleman. Wednesdays at 7 p.m., we dive into the powerful, often unspoken conversations around men's mental health. From silent struggles to bold breakthroughs, this is a safe space where vulnerability is strength and real talk is the rule. With conversation that reflect the journey, the pain, progress, and peace, you'll see you're not alone. So pull up a chair, open your mind, and let's talk. This is Unspoken Real Talk.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
So, welcome to the inaugural Unspoken Real Talk, where you guys come to talk about mental health, and I stay over to the side.
Stay to the side?
I stay to the side. So, we have in the house, like everybody that means a lot to me. So, we have Kareem Williams at the top. We got Law Lewis, Stan Harrison, and my brother Yonder. We are missing two, but they will be in shortly. We're gonna start at the top. It'll probably be easier to let people know about who you are.
Okay. I am author Keith Kareem Williams. I'm a novelist, screenwriter, ghostwriter, graphic designer. I've been a full-time author since 2010, and I've written over 24 novels, all different genres. Yeah, so that's me. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. Yes, that's single dad, kind of, sort of. Not so single now, but raised two kids while doing this. So yeah, that's who I am pretty much.
My turn?
Your turn.
Pretty much I think I've been through like three parts of a life. So in my first part, I was like a young boy, college student. I'm from Virginia. I went to Virginia Tech. I started playing football and everything. Football was my life at one time. Then my second part of my life, I played arena football, became, for 10 years of that, I played arena football and became a different person. And I was so out of shape and everything else like that without knowing that I was dying on the inside with a lot of things. And then my third part of my life, I've been a fitness guy. So, I've been so far removed from certain parts of the life, you wouldn't even notice that I used to be 280 pounds. Now I'm only 180 pounds. So being far from removed in different aspects, but I think I've always gotten better. If you ever get a chance to really hear my story, you would understand that, I'm one of those people that, I'm a phoenix. I might start in some ashes, but I come on out of that thing. And I've gotten a lot better just in just a way of thinking, as a man, how we are sometimes in those different chapters of my life, I have changed. And I'm more outspoken now too, to the point that sometimes I can take up the whole time or anything like that, because I'm always trying to give back, because I've lost three of my good friends. When you lose three good friends in certain situations, you can't sit back and just watch other people go. So that's another reason why I got into the fitness. So that's a little bit about me.
Okay, my name is Yonder. I'm originally from Washington, D.C. I now tally in Tampa, Florida, in a nice sunny land. I have about 13 books out now, a couple of anthologies, including Two of You, Pam, and two devotional ones with my girl Vanessa Blackwell. I write 5 different genres. I think Kareem writes 10. My hottest genre has been erotic, but I write murder mystery, I write motivational, I write devotional, and then I write Black men's health, I do poetry, and just glad to be with you guys and happy that we met Pam.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, Pam, kudos to you again. My name is Stan Harrison. I am a jack of all trades, master of absolutely nothing. So I too am a author. I currently have 6 books, 3 anthologies. 2 are with you, Pam. 1 with Janice Kearney. I have a children's finance book that just dropped, and book 2, appreciate it. And book 2 of The Tool, The Ultimate Manipulation, should be coming out before the end of the year. On top of my author role, I am a mentor, a teacher of fishing and outdoor activities for men. And what I do every day is finance and money management. So that's what I do on my real job, aside from being a father, stepfather, grandfather, godfather, and of course a husband. So I got a lot of jobs, a lot of hats. So that's what we bring to the table, folks.
A lot of hats.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, who are you, Pam?
We can't hear you.
Yeah.
No, I had to go back and fix it.
Oh,
There was one thing. There's one thing you all, well, actually 2, because one of them's me. There's one thing that you all have in common, but somebody forgot to say that. Yeah, you want to go ahead and fix that one?
yeah, I got some books too. I'm an author. Forget about my fitness books. I got a lot of fitness. I got a kids fitness book. I have 2 editions of my every month that I do a challenge for the people. So I put it all into a book to help out people. So I got that, and then I got an advanced book of if you like a big bodybuilder that needs a tracking of your meals and stuff. So I'm in the dabble in the realm of books. So every time y'all says books, I'm like, hey, I got a book or 2 now. I can say that too. Mine's been I haven't been in as long as y'all have. I'm just like this is my second year after. I feel like this is my first, like my second year into this whole thing, and I'm kind of happy that I'm able to get back to somewhere and somehow.
See, I was like, yeah. So before we go any further, I need to say that I made a mistake. I forgot that Royce is on a different time zone. So
Okay.
I just sent him a message and told him that it's now. So he'll be in a second. Me, yeah, y'all know me. For some reason I've become a do-it-all dolly and doing everything but what I want to do right now. But are y'all trying to find out how this came about? Y'all want that short story? That short story.
I'm intrigued.
You intrigued? Okay. So let's see what's the short version of the story. I did not get along with my mom when I was growing up and couldn't figure out why. Short version is that when I wrote the book to basically cleanse myself of the disdain and dislike that I have for her, still not gone yet. I wrote a book and found out that I was a mental abuse survivor, and I was trying to figure out what that was. And I Googled it, and I saw that 63% of the African American male do not seek help. They don't reach for mental health. They don't ask for mental health. They don't do anything. So instead of me focusing on me and air quote women, I decided to go in a different direction and focus on our brothers. So that's how we got here.
And having 2 boys, that doesn't hurt any too. So I know that those
2.5.
boys
2.5.
2.5. You can't as your twin.
Yeah, you can't leave Maverick out of here to tell you about yourself.
So that does help.
It doesn't matter which order we go in. Doesn't matter which order we go in, because I'm gonna take that spotlight off of me and ask that question. Before you guys start doing the anthologies with me, did you know anything about men's mental health?
No, I mean, I didn't think about it because I've always was taught that you just had to be tough as a man and I mean, it took after me stopped playing football that I realized that, you can be more emotional. But really lately, it's as it, you know, as you take I guess because I looked at myself more that I'm more aware of it. But I can't be truthful and say I thought about mental health for years. No, I can't say that.
I would have to agree. I discovered that we experience mental health only after going through a pretty traumatic situation with a former spouse. And with that, I learned that, hey, this is something that's deep, something that I really didn't know what to do at that point, didn't know where to turn, didn't know how to handle it. So I did what most men do. We just rubbed some dirt on it. We kept it inside and we kept it moving. So
Mm-hmm.
it was only until I wrote my book that the cathartic process began, the healing process, very similar to Pam when she wrote about her pain within the book. What was beautiful in my particular scenario is that I once I became aware that this thing was real, I started noticing, just like when you buy a blue car, or that brand new blue Lexus or whatever vehicle that you purchase, you all of a sudden start seeing that brand new blue Lexus everywhere you look. So I started noticing a lot of other brothers dealing with the same exact scenario. And that's how my book became what it is, because it's a consolidation of a lot of people's struggle in the same process.
Well, I never thought about it before. And sometimes it's almost a little bit scary to think about the age that I really realized that um, not just me, but my peers, how much stuff we struggle with.
Mm-hmm.
And is when you start to really speak to other people who have different experiences, and you start to share your experiences, and they have like this kind of like shocked look on their face. Because your environment is your environment, right? So you just believe that this is the way it is until you kind of get out in the world and you start to realize that, wait a minute, uh, I grew up this way, but that's not a normal environment for people, or that's not normal. Or as a man, you just taught to kind of like just soldier through whatever you're going through. And life has a funny way of sitting you down and forcing you to look at yourself through unfortunate circumstances. And you start to realize that, hey man, like, yeah, I'm actually not okay. Right. So yeah, that's kind of like when I started thinking about it, looking at my peers and even wondering like, why do I keep doing certain things? Why do they keep doing certain things? Why aren't I happy? Why aren't they happy? And then you start to realize that you don't even really, sometimes some of your closest friends, you don't even tell them what's going on with you.
True.
I'm gonna pause for just 2 seconds, and I'm gonna go to my brother yonder. I have my brother and authorship in the house, and that's the one. I apologize for not getting the time right. It's Mr. Royce. Well, we have introduced and told told what we do and how we do it.
Okay.
Your turn.
I'm Royce Dixon, father of two, husband of 30 years. I'm a bailiff by my 8 to 5 job. I'm also a photographer as well as an author. I've written five books. I've co-authored two. This one with you guys, another one with Cynthia Miller. And I'm just happy to be here.
We happy to have you all.
I
Yeah,
know. I was
appreciate
like,
it.
I was.
Appreciate
I
it.
lost. I lost yonder. That's how I was looking for yonder.
Yonder went to yonder, but he'll
Yonder,
come back.
he'll be back quickly.
He
Yeah,
will.
he'll be back quickly. There's my there. See, I was worried about him, but there's my brother.
There you go.
I apologize.
Oh, that's
Something went wrong with
okay. I just want to make
wrong with
sure.
my computer, so I came on my phone. So I realized years ago that we were dealing with something as men that we had no control over, and we couldn't talk to nobody about. Growing up in different neighborhoods, I grew up in the projects, went through
Mm-hmm.
working with a majority of folks that don't look like us in management, and my background, I'm a contract specialist for the federal government. So I've always been in rooms that only person in the room is me. They look like me is me.
Mm-hmm.
So not dealing with that, but having no one to deal with that with me and working in that capacity for years. And then as I grew longer and harder and try to stay in that position in life, later on in life, I had a tragedy. My first wife passed away suddenly. So I became a single father of 2 kids, 16 and 11. So I became mama and daddy that day. She got sick on a Tuesday and she died on a Friday. So trying to deal with them and deal with myself. We all went to counseling, and then recently I started back counseling about a year ago. And my oldest daughter, who is actually 27 now, just turned 27 the other day, was like, "Daddy, have you been back to counseling again? Because I'm going myself." And I was like, "You think I need some?" She was like, "Yeah, Dad. Your kids don't really want to tell you what you need, but you got to listen to them." And I listened to her, and I've been going about another year now. We went to marriage counseling. I did all this other stuff, but I started going to counsel for myself, and I realized more and more how much, as who we are, black men, we take on the world, and everybody's issues become our issues. So when do you have time to deal with your own issues? Because being a man, as you say, we're taught to be tough, rough, and all that good stuff, but you don't realize that you got issues yourself because you're too busy surviving, making, providing, and surviving. So you're trying to
Mm-hmm.
make sure this is right. And of course, we use our own devices from smoking or drinking or whatever, the sexing or whatever. But those are never the in all. They usually end up hurting you. So as a getting counseling and everything, and dealing with the mental health of it, because you have friends who didn't make it out. You have friends who just holding on, and sometimes you that person who just holding on. So I realized that years ago, didn't do anything about it, but realized it was like, and then you don't have that support system. I'm glad we have each other now, from Stan to Kareem to Troy to a whole lot of folks. You don't have that man you can go to say, "Look, dude, it ain't about your finances. This was going on at my job and they tripping. Hey, dude, this is what I did, this is what I did." You don't have that. Men haven't had that sounding board to say, "Man, just go find a new job." No, how to work it out, or or my lady doing this, or my kids doing it. We've never had that sounding board. Women have always had that sounding board, whether it's a girlfriend online, whether it's a girl from college, it's her sorority, her mama. Men
Mm-hmm.
just have never had that line of, "Can I talk to you?"
Is it really that we didn't have it, or we just are we're so private and we're so guarded that we don't want to go to another man and tell them the problem?
I feel that we didn't have it. I mean, what myself personally, I didn't have it. I have we have different sets of friends. You got the friends you hang out with, you got the friends you hold with, but you don't have that. Now I have those type of friends that I can sit down. Keith, I can sit down with. Stan have sat down, broke bread together, went to his daughter's track game. I have those people now. It was like they were never available, man. I've tried to have conversations with people who don't hear you. Let me put it that way.
Right.
And I
I'm
think
gonna
Yonder,
be a devil's advocate right here, real quick, to tie into what Yonder was saying, because we've talked about this before. When you have that person, your air quote mate, and you want to talk to that person, and they don't receive what you are trying to talk about, does that cause a situation, or how do you shut down? What do you do?
You do the
Because
shutdown. You
we
do the
asked this
shutdown.
question before, and one of the guys was like, I'll just walk away. And I'm like, but okay. But I mean, it does. Because I was talking to somebody this week and he said that he can't talk to a female. So if you can't talk to a female and you can't talk to a male and you don't want to seek help, what does that do for the brothers?
You
Down
end
the
up.
wrong path.
I think it's a lack of trust because it's not about female, male, who you can talk to, you can't. It's who you can trust, who you want to give those kind of information to. Because sometimes you try, like they say, you can have a group of guys, but if you don't trust them, I don't care how much you got, how much resource you got for it, it's going to have to come down to what point in life are you going to be able to be, I guess, vulnerable to talk about mental health kind of situations? Because, like I say, it took me a while to even think about talking to somebody about anything, on yet alone mental health. I wouldn't even tell you that, man. I need to go ahead and collect this $10 because I need to make sure I can get some gas in my car or something like that. You know what I'm saying? But I'd be so tough that I wouldn't even ask nobody, and I'll find a way. That's what it is. But when it could have been so much easier by just talking to one of your homeboys, he'll give you a 20 like it was nothing. You know what I'm saying? But it's all about the trust. It's just one of those things. I guess it's the issue at hand. Is that it's mental. My mentor is that I feel like that was what I was supposed to do, is to handle even mental issues by myself. You know what I'm saying? To where it's hard. For me, it's just hard to talk to anybody about certain issues unless I'm in this kind of thing, because I don't know, it just feels weird when you're talking. I guess that's what it is.
I can definitely agree with you, Law. That happened to me when I went through the divorce. Before I went through the divorce, my
Froze.
Hold on, I'm damn right when he was getting good.
Yeah, I know.
I was like, whoa. I was like, huh? When he get unfroze, he'll come back.
There he is.
Okay.
All right, start over, brother.
So my wife was telling me to go talk to somebody before we got the divorce. Talk to your dad, talk to your uncles, talk to your pastor, somebody, because what we're going through ain't normal. This ain't right. And if we don't talk to it, I hate to say what's going to happen. And I figured, well, I don't see nothing wrong, so I didn't talk to anybody. Next thing you know, I'm divorced. Now I'm hurting, and now I don't know what to do.
Right.
So eventually, after much prayer and finally opening up to somebody, I realized I wasn't the only one going through the situation that I was in. And had I just talked to somebody beforehand, the divorce probably wouldn't have happened. But it was a blessing in disguise, because now we're back together and things are better than ever. But I still had to go through. I still didn't have to go through what I went through.
Right. Well, I'm happy. I'm glad that you had a good ending to a lot of us don't have those good endings, because, like I told people, I was a bad product when I was married about 20 years ago. So, but I understand too that that lack of communication can hamper us to a point that it'll stop us from becoming great. We can stop our own greatness by being, and then we thinking that we being helping others, when in all actuality we put a lot of people through torture because we don't want to communicate with them.
Right. And I was so caught up in trying to be a man that I was acting like a boy.
Yeah, say it again. Say it again.
How it is? Here I am, almost 40, going to talk to my daddy about my marriage. That ain't what men are supposed to do.
What we thought.
Actually, that's exactly what men should have been doing, because he'd been married almost 50 years.
See, and that's the thing. We were taught to be men before we were taught to be human.
Right.
That's
a great point.
Growing up, I grew up on, I was fortunate that I had what I call a metro, meaning the city's part of my life, and then I also had the rural country part of my life. So I had the best of both worlds. So as they say back in the country, I can shoot a wing off a flea, 200 yards away, but then I can also, deal with the streets of Brooklyn and Miami and those kind of places. So I kind of have the best of both worlds. However, in both respects, I learned how to be a man in both arenas, but I never learned to be human until I gained a little wisdom and a little respect. And Yonder, going back to what you said, brother, it's all about, finding your tribe and finding that level of trust and being able to say, hey, I'm hurting here, and knowing who to go to, because you can't just go to everybody with this kind of stuff. Not everyone is equipped to handle this stuff, because this is some deep stuff. And sometimes, even some people that you think are going to be able to help you end up leading you astray. So, this is no laughing matter. You have to know, you have to at least be committed to what it is that you're trying to accomplish, especially when you're trying to help somebody else. I find myself doing a lot of help by asking questions and try to figure out what is the direction of what that person is trying to go through or trying to get to, as opposed to what I want them to do. Remove myself from the situation and try to help them accomplish whatever they're trying to accomplish. So, that's the issue when you go to people, especially those that you think are on your side or on your team. They're speaking from their own perspective and not necessarily from yours. So that is definitely something that I will offer to the group.
What I realized a while back is that's probably when I was working on my second book, is that at the time I actually I'm able to do a much better job communicating when I write things down. So even from back then, my books and the writing and even some of the stuff I didn't publish that's what was keeping me sane, just being able to write things down that I wouldn't necessarily even say to, the woman I was with at the time. Years later, after we broke up, she read my second book, which is fiction, but a lot of the emotional stuff that happened was real between us. And she said to me she couldn't finish reading it. And I said, why? Because in the book, she could tell that I understood completely like where she was coming from. And she realized that she just wasn't listening to me. But in reading the book, she was kind of forced to listen without responding. There's no back and forth now, right? There's no, but you have to hear me because it's in the book now. You know what I mean?
Keith, I
So
have
we
to
was
give
able
you,
to,
I
you know
have
what
to
I mean?
give
We
you a
was
lot of
able to
credit,
kind of,
bro. I got to give you a
yeah.
lot of credit, man. You laid it down on that last one. Yeah,
That one I was
I
scared to
love the
write,
fact
but
that you were able to bring that level of mentality, if you will, into a story that was so deeply embedded into manhood.
right,
Because though you were dealing with this, what I call aura of dealing with it, and you dealt with it your own way. You
right,
had your own poison, if you will, and you dealt with it. You dealt with your own poison, but at the same time, you told a very rich story about, hey, I'm revealing my truth here, and
yeah,
it was so deep because you can sense that, knowing you like I know you, I
right,
know that she was listening, and she had
yeah,
no choice but to listen at that point. So
yeah,
that's the beautiful thing about storytelling and writing, is
right.
that we're
It's
able to do that. So I go ahead, man, because you nailed it on the
yeah,
head.
because what we get to do is what I never want to do is kind of pander to the audience. I want to give it to you, yo, this is what it is. Some of it you may dislike, you may love it, but I want you to feel something. So, yeah,
Whoever, turn your volume down, somebody.
yeah, okay, yeah,
Go ahead, Keith.
yeah. So, the things that I write, I try not to be afraid to address uncomfortable truths, and I'm probably better off writing it down and then presenting it and then trying to communicate it live. Because that doesn't often go well because most of us, we listen, like they say, you listen to respond, not to really hear the other person. So for me, this writing thing, that's what keeps me sane, brother. That's my therapist. Because if I keep these thoughts in my head, and the validation sometimes is when you hear other people like what you just said, Stan, that you read it and you felt it. And both men and women could read my stuff and say, wow, do you like, I've heard you live in my house? Like this is going on right now. And so, okay, you could take a sigh of relief because, okay, it's not just me. I'm not by myself. So it's what we do is a beautiful thing, brothers. It's a beautiful thing. And it's needed for other people. You know what I mean? Other people pick up our work and they read it and they don't feel alone. They're not ashamed because somebody else has felt the way they felt, been through what they've been through. And every now and then we gonna give them a story that's like, wow, I ain't doing that bad.
Yeah, man. Even Yonder, when you're reading some of his stuff, and especially when you did the series, and then you get to the place that he's like, "Let me flow," and you're like, "Wait a minute, brother, where you going now?" And you go 18 different ways, because Yonder's mind works like this anyway. So it's a beautiful thing just to watch his mind do what it does.
I'm trying to stay away from Yonder's books. No. You might read one of Yonder's books and somebody end up.
But Kareem, you're so right because
I'm good.
Because the way I write the characters in your head, writing this stuff, and the crazy part about, as you guys can say, is you're right. We writing them fictional, but these are real characters that run around our head.
Mm-hmm.
Even when I started doing murder mysteries, it's some murderers running around our heads. I mean, I'm killing some good folks, man. I'm doing some good killing. I mean, and there's the thing about it is, like Brother Stan said, like Frank said, and I think writing has saved my life most of the time because I've been doing this for 21 years. And my son was he's 21 now, so he was 6 months old then. He'll be 22 in September. And the point about writing is sometimes I have, like Brother Kareem has, I know he has probably 100 books he hadn't released yet. And this is my mental health break by writing. And I didn't realize I'm not being my own therapist. Don't get me wrong, but it says I can read the old stuff and say,
Yonder, you're freezing.
Yeah, you keep freezing. Can't get a good flow.
I said, as you write, as you're writing these stories, I realized looking at some of my old stuff that I haven't published. Like I said, Karina, I know you got 100 books you ain't published yet. You read some of your old stuff, and I'm glad I'm not that person anymore. Am I still frozen?
Just a little bit.
Am I still frozen?
Yeah,
you go in and out.
You moving slow. You kind of freezing.
Mm-hmm.
We got Brother Troy in the house.
Yeah, let's bring Troy in.
Yeah, Brother Troy in the house.
Yeah, go Troy. You take on Troy.
Hey, how y'all?
What's up, Troy?
Listen, I would say everything you guys touched on was definitely deep, inspiring, and reality based. I think mental health, when we go back to the question Pam was talking about, who do we turn to? How do we express ourselves when we feel we can't talk to nobody? I think that a lot of times that's where our creativity comes from. That's when we tap into our deeper source and we find a way to vent. And many of us do it positive, some of us do it negative, but the goal is definitely to lean more to a more productive result. So, we making books, people making movies. Some people know how to turn it and make money. They're so creative. And I think it's important to hear those stories Not actually the stories of the success, the stories of the process. Because a lot of people in the world, especially us as men, if you want to get more specific, African American men, we have issues where we face empty halls, empty houses, and sometimes we don't know an answer. We don't know where to turn. But when we can come and talk to somebody, or we could read a book, or we could watch a movie and see our experience there, it feels soothing to the soul a little bit. It feels soothing to the soul a little bit. It makes you feel like, okay, you get that inspiration, you get that motivation, you enjoy living and loving life. And then once you get the hang of it and find its importance, you want to participate because you want to share that information. You want to inspire somebody else. You want to motivate somebody else because you understand that there's, effective communication and understanding helps us get to the next level, helps us make it through the day, helps us advance, have to create opportunities for success. So with the many psychic traumas that we we have in our blood veins, we have embedded, it's like, of course we're going to have some type of distortion in our brain patterns, in our brain waves, especially when things don't go our way. And then if you want to get more specific, especially in geographical locations, if you come in an inner city where you that close to somebody who's experiencing psychic trauma issues, of mental health, you got nothing but firecrackers liable to go off. And in those type of situations, what's the remedy? The question comes to, what is the remedy? So Pam, I thank you for this, because this right here provides people a source of remedy to talk to somebody who is paying attention. Someone who, when I say someone, I'm talking about us, who is paying attention, and is creating a avenue, creating a way for someone to vent, to find their source. And that's I think there's an importance there in the writing. My first book was Social Climax. When I created that book, it was funny because everything I wrote in there was not with the intention of making a book. It was with the intention of me venting, of me sharing how I see things, me talking to myself, because I know me speaking my mind is going to offend somebody. So let me go ahead and just put it down on paper. If there's nobody there, that I need to share what I'm gonna say, whether regardless if it offend them or not. But most times I just wrote it down, and the guy come by and said, "What are you writing?" And I shared it with him and let him read it. And he said, "Man, you need to share this with people." He said, "You can't be selfish and have this for yourself. People need to read this. This is what people want. They need to hear this." And I was like, "Man, this is personal stuff. This ain't for me to be sharing to anybody." He was like, "Man, you can't be like that." And I was like, "All right." So that resonated in my mind. Years later, took a tax return, and that's how I came up with Social Climax. I pulled out the best ones I felt comfortable with sharing with the world, and I got a lot of thumbs up. The funny thing about it, I thought a lot of guys would be the ones that kind of gravitated toward me, but it was women. Women was coming up telling me, "This is your gold. I like this line right here. This right here." And I was like, "Wow." I never knew. I wasn't even thinking that this is something that would interest you. And she was like, "This is your gold. This is your gold." You know what I mean? So I keep it in my mind, and I go back to, which is why, being she was a woman, I was excited to see Pam making the introduction with this project. I was like, "Wow, a woman." Imagine that. So I said, I'm on board without hesitation, because I felt it was a need.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Mhm.
When I started writing my first book, it was about the divorce. But in the midst of writing that book, whenever I would get stuck, I started writing another book titled Hidden Feelings. Because I had, like you said, I had all these hidden feelings on the inside of me that I didn't even know existed. From the time I grew up as a kid up until my divorce, I was dealing with, on the inside, I had stuff going on inside of me, but I didn't know how to deal with it. So I started writing, came up with the storyline and started putting a lot of myself in the book.
Mhm.
So how I thought my main character should be ended up, actually, it's a lot of me and things that I've heard and seen. And so I'm sure a lot of us have had that same situation. You know, when we write, we put a lot of us in the book.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yonder.
We got two yonders.
I'm seeing double.
We went from a shaky yonder to two yonders.
I think he got fired when he went and watched Sinners. He said, "I got to try this."
I know. I'm like, whoa, yonder.
Okay, so I'm gonna throw another monkey wrench at you.
There we go.
Yeah, I see you now. So after
Yes,
you guys, since everybody participated in one or the other of both books, after you did that and you shared and was transparent, does that change your outlook on mental health? Like if you would want to seek help or want to talk to somebody, or does that just leave you kind of like, I still don't know what I want to do?
Well, I've been going to therapy for a while myself, so I'm in.
For me, the second story, the story I wrote for the second book, it made me think about a time when I felt like the character I wrote about, right? And it kind of scared me a little bit, to be honest. And I was like, maybe you need to go talk to somebody. So yeah, it definitely made me think about it because I'm like old school stubborn. Like even going to the doctor, I'll mix something up in the house to feel good. You know what I mean? So and I'm real. It's hard to gain my trust.
That's that Jamaican in you. That's that Jamaican.
Yeah. You know they have a remedy. I put some rum on my scalp and I'm good. You know what I mean?
For everything.
Yeah, for everything. So, but it let me think that it can't hurt. Hey, you know what? It probably would be a good thing just to go sit down with a neutral party and just get some things off my chest. So yeah.
I don't think it has injected me to go and seek any more. I mean, I like I said, I'm trying not to lie about it. So I wouldn't say that. I don't know. I guess I'm in my mind feeling, and like a lot of us saying, I'm not as bad as the other man, so I should be all right. You know what I'm saying? I shouldn't, you know, a lot of guys out there that's doing a lot worse to you. So you say, well, I need to suck my situation up. So I might need to get out of that kind of mental thinking, but it's so hard when you live in like, you know, I mean, you're just trying to survive in some days, and sometimes you're just trying to get by, making sure somebody else gets by. Sometimes we forget all about ourselves mentally and everything on some days. You'd be like, whoa, did I even care about me? I didn't eat right. I didn't, anything else, but I went out there and tried to get that money though. You know what I'm saying?
So that, what Law was saying was part of the push that I had here because because I'm not a man. Let me clear that up. Our men were raised that way, that you're not supposed to show weakness, that you're not supposed to cry. Because I've only seen my dad cry once in the entire time he was alive. That was one. And he got mad because I cut the light on and I saw him. So it's the way we were raised. I keep saying we because I'm African Americans, that you're not supposed to show weakness. It's like a taboo, no pun intended yonder, to show weakness. For an African American male to show weakness, or to show any signs of emotion, that's not what you got. My dad, let's use him as an example, was raised in that era to show tears. You're supposed to be head of household. You're not supposed to hold down two jobs. You're supposed to make sure everybody has clothes and everything. So there's no time for you to take care of yourself. So that it's instilled. It's not, and it's going to take a while to break that, but it's instilled.
And Pam, going back to what you said, and what many of the brothers have already said, it is definitely instilled. And it's not just, I mean, it's a generational curse, and we all have it. I mean, so what the book did was it made me a lot more aware
Mm.
that I'm not the only one going through things, so that when I'm
Mhm.
dealing with another brother, I'm not so, what I would say, judgmental, and what he may be dealing with. I'm a lot more open to the idea that, hey, he may just need a little love right now. And I'll even, be a little vulnerable here on this call. I mean, there are times in which, I work hard and, I'm home. I feel guilty by sometimes just being home and relaxing. And then, my daughter, my wife may come in from the store, or wherever they go, um, and I'm relaxing and I'm dozing off from time to time. And I'm like, oh, I got to wake up and show that I'm doing something. It's that bravado, it's that ego sometimes that a lot of times it does get in the way of allowing us to, what I call, decompress and learn how to rest. And that is definitely one thing that I have learned to do over the past few years and since writing my first novel, being able to and learning how to not just physically rest, but mentally rest. And I'll share a story. I remember visiting a good friend of mine in the hospital, and I said, "Hey, man, are you okay?" He said, "Yeah, man, I'm just sitting here doing nothing." And after a while, it kind of dawned on me that every time I visited the hospital, the people were just resting. And I realized something. So I got a little lot of that phlegm that was going on a few weeks ago, and I decided to do something that I never did before. I rested.
Mhm.
I actually rested. I didn't try to overdo it. I didn't try to fight. I always say you got to fight through a cold. Men, we like to fight through a cold. We like to fight through situations. I just decided to rest, and instead of it holding me down or hampering me, I rested and it went away like naturally.
Mhm.
So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we just have to learn different methods and different processes. And that was just through, like I said earlier, through wisdom. We learn through the wisdoms that we go through. They say wisdom can be taught or it can be learned, one of the two, but eventually you're going to have to get it.
A
I
quick
learned.
question for you. How hard was it for you to just be still?
Honestly, next to dealing with the death of my parents
Hmm.
and my divorce, it was probably the third hardest thing I had to deal with.
Mhm.
And
Honestly,
I'm just saying that overall. I
I'm
mean, I
I'm
want
telling
it
you,
directed
Tam,
to the men, but for me, I can't be still. So
that's
I'm like,
and that's the
it's
thing for
hard.
us. It's hard for us just to relax. For instance, I try to uh, do one vacation every year, because at one point, when I my first career corporate job, I never took a vacation. You know, 14 years, I never took a vacation. So by the time I left that job, I had enough vacation days to last 6 months. So now, I've learned. So my last vacation, I wanted to take a trip that I did absolutely nothing. I mean, zero.
Mhm.
And it was one of the best trips I ever took in my life. All I did was wake up, have some coffee, and ate. That was it. Just mental decompression, no work, no phone, no TV, no computer, no nothing. One of the best trips I ever took.
Ooh, I just had a small. Ooh, hold on. You said no TV
No
and
TV,
no phone.
no phone. And
Woo.
it was actually the second time that I did that. My wife and I went to a place called the Dry Tortugas, which is about 80 miles southeast of Key West.
Mhm.
It's in the middle of nowhere. In fact, there used to be an old fort that was designed to prevent pirates from coming in and invading the United States. It was never actively used, or at least attacked, but it's still there, and you have the ability to go there and camp out.
Mhm.
No electricity,
Mm-hmm.
no running water. You have to actually catch all of your food, uh, and you have to basically rough it. Again, one of the best vacations we ever took because there was no cell phone service, no television, no radio, no nothing. Just you and nature. And sometimes as men, we just got to get back to nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This has been so rewarding to me because if nothing else, I've got out of it that I don't feel. I've learned that I don't feel so. 'cause, y'all put y'all's, I guess, in your writing, your emotions, and everything else. I found mine through like fitness and dancing and everything else like that, where I've learned that you better find something to put your emotions into, especially as a man or as a person, or it's gonna bottle up and get to you. So I'm glad to at least see that other guys put their feelings in the writing, and that's what changes. They put their feelings in different things, and I don't feel as like say something as guilty, or I don't feel as selfish because I put all my emotions into like my fitness and stuff like that. So I did want to thank y'all for at least bringing that light to me. So that's what I'm beneficial of stuff like this.
So
But that's
with
good, brother. I've taken a dance
right,
class myself. Like you said, you got to do different ways to get your emotions out. I think my new part of art, my new part of being an author, I want to start painting. Haven't
Painting.
haven't decided yet what I'm gonna do. I want to start painting, drawing, doing all sides of the movie thing. Like I know Brother Kareem does movies. I want to get behind the camera. I want to start painting, just doing different artistic stuff. That's where my emotions come from, doing artistic stuff. But brother, I took a dance class myself, brother. So I'm need me and my wife gonna take another one. But you're
Yeah,
right. And when you say resting, that's one
yeah.
of the things I do. My wife said I claim I do it too much. I've learned how to rest after a hard day at work. I'm asleep by 10 o'clock. She's like, "You sleep already?" I'm gone. I've been out. We have to rejuvenate the body. If you don't, if you're always running, and then as Brother Kareem would tell you, I like to sit out and smoke a good cigar. I come to work, I ate dinner, we did what we had to do here. Okay, let me sit out back on the 11 hour, watch some CSI, and smoke me a cigar. And I'm relaxed. I say relax. It's like all the weight of the world came on my shoulder. But I know how to relax now. It's times that you run. You wake up in the morning. You go to sleep to wake up early, to get off early, to do something else, to do that, to do this, to do this, to do that. And you're
Hmm.
constantly running. You're running. Your body can't take all of that. And we don't know what relaxation is because we've never had a chance to do it. We've been breadwinners all our lives, and we've been winning the bread. When
yeah,
do you get a chance? Just relax. I ain't saying you got to take off 3 weeks, 4 weeks, but if you don't relax constantly, the body's gonna break down on you. You're gonna relax at home, or you're gonna relax at the hospital. I prefer to relax at the house.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. That's a great
Mm-hmm.
point. Gaining
Yeah,
rest definitely a challenge for me because I stay busy.
yeah,
Yonder, you
yeah.
stay busy. But what I just learned is I think Pam, I think you got the next book title because rest and relaxation is something. I mean, we got people on the road with road rage situations occurring. We got people all kind of we got people unnecessary arguments popping off because of the lack of rest. It creates an irritable
Hmm.
in time. So I think that's a great topic, another one that you can definitely touch on that people will enjoy and relate, be able to relate because somebody somewhere is dealing with that, whether they got to work 2 and 3 jobs, raise a family, whatever it may be. But they got us in this rat race, or we got ourselves in this rat race, and we got to figure out how to calm still. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Yeah, and I thank y'all for that because for years people been telling me like, "Yo, Ray, you gotta rest. We know you got stuff to do. You gotta rest. You gotta rest." So I go and I go and I go and I go and I go, and I don't get like a lot of colds and stuff like that. But when I do catch a cold, listen, like y'all listen. If you don't sit down, life gonna sit you down, right? So
But
that's something I gotta learn because even like today, I'm running on 1 hour sleep. I was up all night trying to finish a book. The book is not going nowhere. You know what I mean? It's here.
You are.
It's all right. Go to sleep, right? You know what I mean? And if I get sick, as people say, I'm of use to nobody, right? So rest is a thing. Like, yo, you all right? Sometimes I tell my kids, Dad, what you want for Father's Day? What I want for Father's Day is for nobody to ask me to do anything, right? Just I don't want to go pick up
Hmm.
my own cake. I don't want
Hmm.
to help in the kitchen. I don't want to
Hmm.
do anything.
Cut the
You know what I mean? So
grass.
yeah, I don't want to answer the door. Matter of fact, y'all act like I'm not here, right? But yeah, I have to. I'm glad y'all said that because I really have to be more disciplined and do that.
Yeah.
Royce
Can't
is
rest.
a jack of Royce is a jack of all trades, and I'm gonna say that. Yeah. So, do
Yeah.
you even rest?
Physically, yes, but mentally, not a whole lot.
Okay.
I guess being a creative, my mind is always racing or thinking about the next thing that I got to do.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times, no, to be honest, I don't mentally rest a whole lot. But physically, I will. I get some rest. A couple weeks ago, around the first week of April, me and my wife went to Branson, Missouri, and so we got there. We was there for a week. We got there Monday. We both realized we still had some work to do. So Monday we finished up the work, but then the rest of the week we didn't do nothing on the computer, nothing on the phones, no social media, no nothing. I mean, we still watched TV, but it was still that was relaxing for us. And
Mm-hmm.
then as we went out, we still some beautiful, beautiful scenery in Branson. So I was able to take some pictures, but I didn't edit them until we got back home.
Mm-hmm.
So I find time here and there to find my breaks. But photography for me is relaxing. It's really just me. It's kind of like me just drawing and sitting at home and drawing a picture by myself. So the camera is kind of like my pencil. And so I just find different ways to relax and not necessarily go to sleep, but it's relaxing to me, if that makes sense.
It
Mm-hmm.
does. I'm getting ready to throw another monkey wrench in it.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I got whoop. So we relax, we shut down, we be still. Do you feel guilty for doing it?
I, I,
Yeah, yeah.
I
I'm
do.
So,
feeling
I feel
guilty
guilty for
talking
doing anything.
about it.
so if you're feeling guilty about something you're trying to get yourself to do for your mental, isn't that like wrestling with
It
two?
is. It is.
That's why I was like, okay, so you're resting,
It's a
but
it's a
while
tug
you're
of war.
resting, are you guilty?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
because
Yeah.
you
it's in my
it's a
nature,
tug of war.
actually.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even like to spend money on myself. I'd rather spend it on my wife or my kids or family than
Mm-hmm.
spend it on myself. So for me to go to a store and buy something, don't happen too often unless I really need it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think that's just part of being a man.
And going back to what we talked about earlier, it's one of those things that you have to learn how to do.
Mm-hmm.
And just like Brother Royce mentioned, if I spent $2 on me, man, I feel guilty. Believe it or not, the shirt that I'm wearing now is 27 years old. And my wife was like, "Man, why don't you buy some new clothes?" I'm like, "I can't buy any new clothes because I'm always buying for y'all." But that's one of those things. You learn that here and there, and again, and Pam, going back to this thing, it's no different than learning how to walk, or learning how to talk, or learning how to write. In the beginning, it's very difficult for us to do, but with time and with practice, we consistently get better. So now, if it's something that I want, guess what? I have no more guilt in getting that thing. But
Mm-hmm.
you give you just a little piece, try it, and it'll work out. So, never in a million years would I find myself playing golf with my wife. Never in a million years would I see a beautiful lady like her wanting to play golf. Believe it or not, we play golf 2-3 times a week now. Now, how is it that we have time to do that now? What we did was we cut out things that we didn't need to do, like sit around and watch social media, or sit around and watch, what was going on politically on television. But now we take that time, we're exercising, we're doing something, and we're doing that together. And going back to Brother Troy, the title of the next book should be "It's Okay to Rest." And it is okay to rest, and that's something that we've got to learn to do. Going back, we get better with time. You learn how to rest. You learn how to turn certain things off. And now, in the very beginning, it used to bother me, but now it doesn't bother me.
Okay, so Troy is on to something right there. Unspoken. It's okay to rest.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And it's so funny because, I was my acting coach. It was funny. I'm all hyped up. I got an acting coach. I was running with him, and he was like, "Time out, man. Time out. Hold on." I was like, "What's up?" He said, "Man, have you looked at yourself?" I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Man, what you got? Can you explain to me what you do throughout the day?" And I explained it to him. And then he said, "Do you do that every day?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Can I ask you a question?" I said, "What?" He said, when do you make time for yourself? When you do something, when you do?" And I was like, "What?" He was like, hold on. We're gonna put acting to the side for a minute. Let's start over. He said, so now with him, I'm thankful for him because the relationship I built, he helped me get back into the gym at a minimum of 3 days a week. And then he carved out and had me, he said, take out 30 minutes a day for myself, just in a personal space, no phone, no nothing, just you. Just 30 minutes. Just give yourself that. You know what I mean? And I had to think about it. So I've been trying to do that as my transition. And as far as it's just ironic that y'all talk about rest and relaxing, because that's something that's actually happening in my life right now that I'm working towards to train myself and to exercise more. So I was like, wow, that's just not, there's just so many people probably dealing with the same thing that don't even know they need rest. And I guess that's where the zombies come in. They use that as a metaphor, zombies, because we always in motion, always moving, always going, always doing, always, and missing a lot of the basics, things happening. Stuff like that. So great topic. I love it. Thank you.
And I think one of the things too is I know Brother Kareem and Brother Stan and Brother Troy, our rush was that Fresh Book Festival. I had the most fun I've had every year when I come down there and see the brothers, because we laugh, we talk, we joke. We not down there to sell no books. We down there to see each other. We had
don't talk about that. Don't talk. I won't
have more fun down there than anything.
Yeah.
I said with Stan, man and Kareem laughed around the world. Man, I had done it with somebody. I mean, it was just around my peers and just having fun. It was even the conversation. We all hosted a forum that was basically our forum to have fun with each other. We talked about our books. We talked about some stuff, but it was just brothers relaxing. I have fun, even though I'm in Florida, but Kareem, that's his vacation.
That's my vacation.
He was on the balcony. He was on the balcony.
Yep. That was my vacation.
Okay, so we all gonna get in trouble next year. I see it coming. I see it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because that's
we gotta stay at Host Hotel. You gotta stay at Host Hotel because that's all the fun that we have more fun there.
I need water. I ain't staying in on inland. Y'all know.
And I have what's the brother's name? He was Brother Victor. We sat out there. I think he flew out like 4 o'clock that morning. We must have sat outside till 2 o'clock that morning till Uber came and picked him up to go on his flight.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just remember, it's 15 years next year. So.
Yep, we will be there. The minute she says on sale, I'm in.
I already told her I was coming. So hey, Daytona, here we come.
Yep, here we come.
Here we come.
15 years.
15 years.
That's awesome.
Ooh. Okay. I think I asked all my dangerous questions. I did have another one, but I don't know if y'all want to hear that one. But if you were seeking therapy, this is the last question, then y'all can do what you want to do. If you were seeking therapy, would you feel more comfortable having a like person when you walk in the office, you saw a man of color? Would that make it easier for you to sit and talk?
For me, I would say yes, because I think they would have a better understanding. Not that the other person couldn't, but I think they would better understand what I go through as a Black man, as an African American man, versus anybody else. And so we will have more. I just think it would be easier for him to understand what I go through.
But let me ask this question. And I do this a lot too. As far as opening the mind a bit. Sometimes, when we get down to downright honesty, when we facing each other, a person may tend to say, I feel what you feel when they don't, just because they look like you. You feel what I'm saying? You deal with the honesty. When you have somebody who have never been through what you have been through, it's the possibility that they can see the things that you may not be able to see. Because if I'm like you and I experience what you experience, what there may be things that we have not been adapted to that could be affecting us that we can't see. Do that make sense? Because for example, if me and you sat in front of somebody that don't look like us, they don't come from where we come from, they move funny. Things look different when you're dealing with them. So it's the opposite as well. And it could be for good or for better. So
Right.
I agree that it's always great to be in front of someone who look like you, because they 9 times out of 10 experience and understand what you go through. But at the same time, intelligence and honesty comes in all shapes, comes in various forms. And I think the greatest help will come from somebody who can be as honest, direct, and have an open mind of seeing things and the possibilities of what's really going on to get down to the root of the source. But that's just me just taking a side wing, because deep down I always say that it's always good to be in front of somebody that look like me, because I believe that they experience and can understand what I'm going through. But I also don't limit myself there, you know?
Definitely.
Well, I have a different take on that. My therapist is a woman, lover, man. Really, we're not every week now. We're down to every 2 weeks now. And the biggest part of me loving her is she actually lets me talk. She doesn't interrupt. It's some days a man just needs to vent. It ain't gotta be, you ain't really mad about nothing. It's just we were meeting every week. Now we meet every 2 weeks starting next week. We meet every 2 weeks. And she just lets me tell my feelings out. What's going on with you? And I can say it. And not feel that no one cuts me. She doesn't cut me off. And then along the way, she'll say, hey, I heard this. Hey, work on anxiety. Stop taking on other people's issues and da-da-da. She'll give me lessons and stuff. And then we work on something for the following week. And I didn't know I've been in almost a year until the other day. She said, hey, you think we need to do this every week now? I was like, she said, it's been about it almost a year. She said, we're going on a year. She said, you want to cut off for every 2 weeks or once a month? And so we're going on our 2 weeks. And she basically chronologized what we talked about for the whole year. And I was like, and she said, you got over that, you got over that, you got over that, you got over that, you're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing it. And I was like, man, she said, but the biggest part about it is you have somebody to talk to. One of the biggest things with us as men is I think that we don't want interruptions and we don't need interruptions. Some days there's nothing wrong with me. I just need to get this out. You work for the man sometimes, whatever's going on with your finances. She was that person who I just talked to, and she chronologized everything we went through and told me, you got over this, you got over this, you worked on this, you worked on this, you grew better on that. You were at a 1 on this one. You're like 8.5 on this one. You're going to eventually get a 10. You know, and some places she say, you probably never get to a 10, but 8.5 is your best. And that's real good. And that was the biggest part of it because she listened. I mean, how many times we have somebody listen and don't interrupt us? You, especially if you're in a relationship. How many times you try to tell your mate something and they interrupt you, or they give you their spill on it? She never gave me her spill on it. She told me what I need to work on.
Can I ask you this though? Do you think that it depends on the topic or what you're going through?
Yeah.
That it makes a difference between who you see?
I'm not. You know what? I gave her everything. I gave her from childhood.
That's a good.
My wife.
That's a good.
Tragedy losing my first wife, to the kids, to my new wife. I gave her everything. When we started off, I gave her everything I was, and we worked from there.
Okay.
I gave her everything. I started from childhood to adulthood to tragic to happiness. I gave her everybody in my circle.
Did you start off doing that?
The first day.
Let me ask you a question.
African American doctor?
Did it matter who it was? Or it could have been a guy. Would you done the same thing?
I would have, because like I said, I've been to different therapists, been marriage counselor, stuff like that. But I'm not, you know what? I guess I would have, because she had a different direction of going to. She just asked me, okay, so tell me about yourself. And I told her from childhood to adulthood. And we went to a piece at a time. Like I said, a piece at a time. Okay, a piece at a time. And I didn't realize, like I said, until she told me the other day that we've been together almost a year now.
It's like a relationship.
Yeah, right. And the funny thing about it is, look, before when she told me we go every 2 weeks, I said, "What, you breaking up with me? What you doing?" I said, "You're breaking up with me? What's up?" She was like, "No." She said,
she need her space.
She went through her thing. She went through the whole year, and I was like, "Oh man!" And she started telling me the victories. you know, because you get past the victory and no one tells you. You overcome something and you don't even realize it.
Right,
So you work on a different way, from anxiety to the kids to the first wife to the losing of my first wife to working on with my new wife. So it's been great. I was so happy after I do the counseling every Wednesday for an hour, and this is the whole hour. I didn't take the whole hour's time. I was at 45 minutes. She was like, "You through?" I was like, "Yes." She said, "I need to tell you something." I was like, "Tell me what? What's up? What's up? What's up?" She's like, "You really are. You good now?" I was like, "I'm good now." What you mean? But because I got so used to it, but it was the Wednesday. I kept all my stuff, like I said. And then, mind you, she took vacation. I took vacation, so we missed a couple Wednesdays along the way.
Right.
But you don't know you got victories, and like I said, you can't unless you write it down. You don't know that you've overcome some of these things. You don't know with this thing. And she had chronologed, and like I said, when she started telling me stuff, I was like, I don't do that no more. I was like, oh, I mean, I think I wish I had the victories at 6 months, but she told me I was a year time. I was the happiest guy. I came back in the house after that and was like, I'm down every 2 weeks now. I'm getting better. I mean, had my shoulders all up and everything. I'm getting better. Look at me. I'm getting better. And talking to my wife, she's like, yeah, you. And I was like, wow. Because and she told me in 6 months, I wouldn't have got better. We had a year, and I was like, like I said, by her doing a chronological order of everything we worked on, from childhood to adulthood to tragichood to happiness to kids to married into a blended family. My wife had a daughter and I had 2 kids. So I married into a blended family. We made a blended family. So, and we moved along the way. Along the way, I used to live in Maryland. We now live in Florida. So the kids were all younger in school when we were first together. Now, only one home is my 21-year-old son. The girls have graduated and they graduated college and they moved out. You know, she chronologed all that, and I was like, man. I suggest you, if you guys haven't gone to therapy, please. I mean, it made me feel like, you know what? You know how men don't get endorphins? It was that endorphin of life. I mean, I was like, last Wednesday, I was like, yeah. I was sad that she told me it was over, but I was like, man, and I felt it was a whole adrenaline rush. Right? Yeah, but you never know that you've conquered some stuff. Like I said, unless you're writing it down.
You're right.
And it was beautiful.
You're right.
Ask a question. Real quick. I know therapy. Can you explain why is it that we as people can't seem to do that if you're in a relationship with your significant other?
Because they can't hear you.
Okay. So then communication is an issue. Okay.
They can't hear you. Anyone in here relationship will tell you each time you start talking about something, your significant other used to cut you off or solves it for you. That ain't what you need. Most time that ain't what we need. We need somebody to hear that this man at work was getting on my nerves. Oh, this issue happened. I don't need you to solve. I don't need you to say nothing about it. I just need to say it.
But they always try to meet
you. Am I right, Stan? I see your face, Stan.
Yeah, no. I was going that.
I got it.
I was going for Royce because Royce has walked. No, mine was doing the same thing. Royce has walked this path about the mate, the split, and the comeback. So, what say you, Royce?
True, I can definitely talk to my wife about anything now. Before I couldn't because I was afraid to feel vulnerable in fear of that she would use it against me later on. I didn't want to appear weak in front of my wife. But now I don't have that problem. She's made me feel comfortable. She's given me the space to I can come and tell her anything. So now, if anything, that's my therapist, in the room that I get the chance to talk to every day. Because whatever's going on with me, we communicate it. And it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's money, health, whatever. I feel that I can tell her anything, but it took us time to get to that point, but it is possible. And just to go to what Yonder was saying real quick about he was happy to go to his therapist. It sounds like your therapist could put herself in your situation. She understood what you were going through, from childhood to this and that. And the reason why I asked that question about earlier was, let's say I'm dealing with something. Let's say I had a traumatic experience. My son got into an encounter with the police. He's driving while black. Would I feel comfortable going to a white therapist, or would I feel more comfortable going to a black therapist who can understand what it's like to drive while you're black? What we have to tell our young men, we have to tell our sons how to act in order not to be able to come home.
That's all.
That was the only reason why I say it. Sometimes it may feel, depending on what the situation, that you might want to go to.
Right, because you would go in two different ways, I think. I mean, if you see a brother sitting there, you'd be like, you know what I mean, my man? But then compared to a dude, it's like, you know what y'all people did to us. You know, you get a different kind of a way of looking at that. So it all depends. That's how I would be, you know. But if that was in my scenario, all depends on, I guess, how it is. Because, you know, if it was a brother, I'd be like, yo, man, you know what they did? And then if it was a white man, be like, you know, hey, you know what y'all did. So I mean, I don't know.
So you brothers really nailed some key points. Number one, going back to Pam's first question, it's about perspective. And it's really about the way I look at it, and the way a lot of brothers do. I'm starting to see a trend where brothers are starting to see health in an everyday perspective. It's not just health when you go to that therapist. And Brother Royce, you nailed it, man. My wife is my biggest therapist right now. You know, I grew up in a household where I had 5 sisters. So all I had was therapists, bro, and with a mom. So you already know how that is. But again, health is every day. So me and my wife have an idea, and our idea is we communicate about everything. It doesn't matter how hard it is. It doesn't matter how tragic it is. It doesn't matter how much it hurt. It doesn't matter how many times you said it. Talk about it, no matter what. And we basically help each other because we need friendship. And we all know that companionship is the most important part of living. You know, that's the most important part of living to me. We nailed one other thing, and that is, you know, a person, you know, we all know that a fool is a person who represents himself. So we don't want to always be our own therapist. And that's what we have done in the past. We've become our own therapist. Now we've learned how to be a little bit more vulnerable, let go a little bit, and share with some brothers. Hey, man, I remember calling Kareem, and I didn't even know this brother as tight as we are now. I didn't even know how to do a book cover, man. I said, hey, man, help. You know, that's the kind of thing that, you know, we've had to learn to do. Yonder, I'm over here on his side of the coast. I'm like, hey, man, I'm over here. I don't know where the hell I'm at, bro. Come over here and help me out. So that's the whole idea. We have to learn to be vulnerable within and of ourselves. And brother hit 8.5. You know, sometimes we just got to be good enough at 80%. And that's one of the things that, you know, I learned to do, Brother Royce. I'm sure you've experienced this, is that sometimes we expect 100% from each other or from our spouses or our mates instead of just simply accepting 80% because they're never going to be perfect. That was the one major thing that I've learned. You know, not try to expect everybody to be perfect. Just 80% is good enough for me. And again, you know, being open, being willing to grow. Go ahead.
Yes, you know what? I say this often about marriage. Marriage ain't 50-50. Because if you only giving 50%, there's another 50% going somewhere else.
There you go.
Marriage is 100. Even if I'm only at 80, I'm gonna give you all of my 80.
There you go.
Or all of my 60. But you'll never be just 50-50.
Yep. 100.
Well, you know, I'm looking at that different now. Okay.
One last thing that I'll say this too, and hopefully whoever's watching it'll help. For men, if you can't talk about it at the moment, give yourself some time, or especially if you're in a relationship, give her some time. Give me 2 days to get my thoughts together, get myself together, so I can write it down, or I'll come back and we can come back and revisit whatever it is going on. We can revisit it then, because now you've had time to cool off or whatever. You've had time to seriously think about what you're going through, and now you can articulate it better.
And Brother Royce, I don't want to hog the conversation, but I will say that sometimes we don't communicate well with each other, especially in that same household, because we have not learned the power of persuasion and we have not learned different word choices. Sometimes our vocabulary is what limits us to the conversation. So sometimes we just have to learn how to talk to that young lady, because I'm like I said, I'm a dual brother. So I come from the city and I also have a little country in me too. So I can get loud real fast. So, and when I get loud, like I know that with her, she hears that and she thinks I'm screaming at her. And I'm like, hey, I ain't screaming. I just, that's just natural. But once she realized that it was just a normal thing, it no longer became an issue. So, everyone has, we just have to be open enough and vulnerable enough to learn.
Yeah.
Thank y'all.
Get quiet.
I don't know. You know how it is.
That's
Brothers
called
don't
a
want to
period. That's called an
outdo
exclamation point.
nobody.
Mic drop.
Processing all this
Mic
good
drop.
information.
That's a mic
Oh,
drop.
yeah. You finally got to a point where you can hear some brothers telling you some good stuff. It's in how things been going around in this world. How they've been treating a lot of us. It's kind of hard to to think that we got some good guys to just try to get together and just trying to live their lives. I mean, it's getting kind of scary for a lot of if you ain't thinking right, because a lot of our old ways of thinking is what a lot of these guys are getting punished for. You know what I'm saying? To be in the big man in the relationship, to take over and everything else like that. Now that's coming back to Hunt and all those guys that was the big party guys, the big tough guys. I'm kind of glad that at least I had my mother and everybody else to show me a little different kind of side. But I can't fault some of the situations because it could have been me so much easily. You know what I'm saying? I could have easily been in some of these young guys or some of these actually old guys that just getting from their past is made some decisions that was made in the 80s that's coming back to haunt you. You just got to think about that. Remember what happened in the 80s? And it's coming back to haunt some people. So
So
thank you.
I want to, because I think Troy missed it, but I want to thank all of you guys because all of you know where you fit here. I got my Florida family. I got my brother, book designer. Got my fitness dude. You guys all push me in a direction to do this because I was truly gonna stop a long time ago. I was gonna stop because of we're just gonna call it what it is, of the harassment from females. I would get the messages in my whatever DMs or whatever. Why am I doing this? Why are you spending your time on men when we need help? Well, no, you don't. You might need help, but you can get it. I have a pain in my back. We'll pick the phone up. You guys have a pain in your back. You'll put some icy hot on it and keep it moving. So, I mean, that went on for like 18 months. And I was just like, going to throw my hands up, but you guys kept me going. I wasn't going to do the second one. You guys kept me going. The next one that's coming out, which y'all may not know about, kept me going. Kareem knows about it. Law knows about it. Kareem's doing the cover. But this is the one. Yes, you do. The Unspoken from behind bars to home. So we've got, I think, 6 guys that is telling their stories about being in prison. Some are still there, and they're telling their stories on how that affect their mental health. Part 2 of that, which I don't think that it really fits into our Unspoken lineup, is the mothers who watch their African-American sons be taken away. So we have those on the way. Surprise.
So question, is it already completed or you still building it?
Still building.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Still building.
I may have some good information input from that for you.
Okay. Yeah, we're still building. That was put on a back burner, and believe it or not, most of the people, I saw a TikTok video and something told me to reach out to one. And from reaching out to the one, it snowballed into what we're going to see here. And then Troy, you missed this part, but 2026, I got stuff for you guys to do. I'm looking to do nonprofit fundraising type thing for the brothers that want to go to therapy but can't afford therapy. So I want to do like a fund where they can reach out to us and say, hey, I want to go, but I don't have the money. It may be in different states that we're in that we can set up some that will do it for a discount. You know, that they may say, hey, I charge $100 an hour, but I'll see them for 25. And we just give them a month's worth of support so they can get going. Because I don't want people out there, and I know I can't do it because I'm broke as a joke, but I know there's people out there that want to go but can't go and don't know how to find the money to go.
So what can it also make sense possibly in the future somehow or another we're able to attach the book sales to that fund?
Yeah, if you want to.
That way, because that'll give it a more that'll create a more value for the books and authors in the book, or helping the community. I say overall community, meaning worldwide, for people as well. Yeah, I think.
And the workbooks are coming out too.
That's
their
awesome.
Workbooks. The workbooks match the books.
Brilliant.
So if they order this one, they can get the workbook to go with it. They order this one, they get they can read the stories and see what you guys have gone through, but they also can get a workbook. And let's say they can't go to or afford to go to a therapist or something, they can spend $10 and get a workbook and do the work.
Do the work.
So you guys, thank you.
Thank you.
Our pleasure.
Thank you.
Our pleasure.
Hey, it was nice meeting all of you guys.
This isn't going away. We're gonna keep doing this. I wanted to do it with all of you guys, so it may be going forward, maybe 2 or 3. If you guys have people that you want to bring on to talk, then I will set it up. I'll sit over here. You guys can to do that however you want to do it. This is ours. This isn't mine. This is our YouTube, our stream, our videos, our whatever. This isn't, I'm just here putting it out there for you guys. So if you ever want to interview somebody, talk to somebody, something about your mental health, we're going to put it all on this page, because this streamed to our new YouTube page, and we had several people on it. We've had questions. So everything's brand new, and this is all about you guys. I'm just here for you. I'm just here for it. Woo!
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we got so much stuff to do next year. So enjoy your resting, because I'm going to disrupt it. Enjoy talking without being interrupted, because I'm going to interrupt you. What else am I going to disrupt? Something. But you all know each other now. If you guys need each other, reach out, call, text, something.
Always, for sure.
Yeah.
So now
I'm definitely on social media. So if you guys want to reach out, or maybe reach out to some of you.
Pam, can you do us a favor? Can you put us all in an email with everybody's contact? That way everybody can reach each other at will whenever they want, whoever they need, whenever they need.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
I'll do it. It'll probably be when I'm like, if you see something at 3:00 in the morning, don't ask no questions. Just go.
So I'll be up.
That's what I said. I know you up. I was like, just don't ask no questions. All right, guys.
All right.
I appreciate you.
This was great. Take care, everybody.
Much love. Peace.
Have a good night.
Have a good night, everybody.